In today's episode, success story Sean Douglas joins us to talk about the myriad of things that he does and why you can do the same. Coming right up. Hi there, welcome to Getting to Hire, the show that's helping you, the military member, successfully transition from your military career to your new successful civilian one. I'm your host today, Tony Morrow, and today we have a phenomenal success story. Sean Douglas is joining us, a man who has set himself up for success in advance of his transition out of the military, and he has so much to say about that. Ladies and gentlemen, let me introduce to you the one, the only Sean Douglas. Sean, thank you for joining us today.
Thanks for having me, my friend.
Sean, you are an international speaker, you are an entrepreneur, you are a podcast host, and you still serve in the U.S. Air Force. How you manage all that is a mystery to me, but I'm sure you're going to tell us all about that. But before we get into that, perhaps you can give us a quick 2-minute origin story as to who you are, how did you end up doing what you're doing, and of course, talking about, how you serve in your military career.
Yep, absolutely. So I joined the Air Force in 2001, like the day after 9/11. And I was working at Discount Tire as a warehouse manager. I come from an entrepreneurial family. My uncle, my aunt, my mom. So a lot of entrepreneurs. My grandfather. So I knew like the mindset and kind of what it takes to build your own legacy in your own business. So I got stationed in RAF Lakenheath in 2002 to 2004. And in 2004, I started doing some karaoke for the enlisted club and some DJing and some other things. And what was great about that was I met an amazing, extraordinary person who managed the club. So I move on to the next base into Idaho. I'm DJing at clubs and bars, and I'm starting to build this entertainment company. And so we've got another DJ and we have a photographer. So we're starting to do weddings. From Idaho to Utah in 2006. And who runs the enlisted club? The same extraordinary person from England. So wow. I met up with her, talked with her. And she says, oh my gosh, I need someone to run this catering department. I need someone to be this DJ and to host these things and different things and whatever. Like, awesome, let's do it. So essentially from 2004 to 2008, in England, Idaho, and Utah, I had set myself up and started running like an entertainment company. And with the military at the enlisted club, started working in the catering department and doing events and hosting things and whatever. So we'd get booked for weddings, bars, clubs around town. We'd drive like 2 hours away to go do a conference. In 2008, I had made 6 figures just from the DJing, the weddings, the conferences, everything. We had me and 2 other DJs. We had a videographer and a photographer. So there was 5 of us running the whole thing.
Holy cow. And this is all while you're still serving, like you're in uniform.
While I'm still serving. Yep.
Okay. So how did you go from essentially entertainer extraordinaire, DJ and event planner, to the work that you're doing now, public speaking and, the podcast and your clothing line, like so much that you have going on. How did you begin that transformation?
So the reason we closed down in 2008 was because when you're a DJ in bars and clubs and different events, especially networking events, you spend a lot of time in that environment. You start to become that environment. So I started abusing alcohol, and that led down a dark road. And so my wife had left with the kids, and she's like, I'm out of here. I can't even do this. You're so worried about these other things and not our family, and you're drinking. And it's just way too much. Like this rock star lifestyle you want to live. Like, I just can't do it. And so, I thought about taking my life, started drinking some more. And then by the end of 2008, I literally tried to take my life. And, with the help and support of people, and I'd exited that business, sold it off, but essentially got bought out. And so with chaplains and help and support and, all that, I started looking at like really, because I wasn't like a Tony Robbins guy or anything like that. I was more like, I'm my own person, and I don't care what these other books and these other guys, like I never did any personal professional development. If I needed something, I just looked it up. I YouTubed it, I Googled it, whatever. So yeah, that was tough. And a couple months into 2009, the job that I had in Utah was closing. They were basically going to civilians. They were getting rid of the military aspect. And they said, man, you have a powerful testimony because you're actively in the community, helping other people and volunteering and all that. You need to go be a drill instructor and go leverage like your newfound lease on life. After your ADAP is complete and after, all that. I was like, awesome. So I went down there and graduated MTI school in July of 2009. And I started my MTI career as a drill instructor in September.
Wow.
So September of 2009, I was working as a drill instructor for Air Force Basic Training. And that whole time I'm just reading and getting, all of they call it woo-woo, all that stuff, the mindfulness, the meditations, all the personal professional development, reading leadership books and getting introduced to John Maxwell and Tony Robbins and all the Zig Ziglar, all these people that are just changing lives. And that's kind of how I became to do that. I became a drill instructor. It unlocked a passion for speaking and training and mentoring and coaching I never knew existed. So from 2009 to 2013, I was living my passion. And when my tour was up, I was like, I have to keep doing this. This is what I was born to do. And so in 2014, I became a certified master resilience trainer for the military. In 2015, I was like, I'm going to do this full time. I started looking at conferences, started looking at events. And then in 2016, I wrote my book. 2017, I launched my radio show. 2018, I started having my side hustle overtake my military pay. And it's just been growing from there.
Wow. Okay. So that's a lot. So you went through a transformative experience. You hit the bottom of the barrel, you came out the other side, you were given some opportunities to grow, you embraced that opportunity to grow, again, reading material, digesting stuff, implementing stuff, and then found your passion. And then that passion led you into, building on what you already described, like this entrepreneurial spirit that you had from, before the military. And then, when you were the DJ in the club and so on. And now you're building this business around this mindfulness, this resiliency, this leadership mindset that you've got going. So it started with you being the drill instructor, and then how did it progress from there? Because you have, again, the speaking.
Yeah.
You have the Success Core Academy that teaches others the ability to become successful in speaking or business or entrepreneurship or what have you. You have the Life Transformation Radio, which is your podcast, and then you have this clothing line that you've just started. So talk us through the progression of how you started doing the first thing and how that led to the second, because they're all building on each other.
Sure. Yeah, definitely. So let me back up to my instructor time. So the big thing that happened there was military career days and all these things for schools. And so a bunch of us would go and volunteer at the middle schools. As a drill instructor, we're asked a lot to judge meets. As I'm judging the drill meets, I'm motivating the kids. Coaches take notice. The schools take notice. They're like, hey, would you want to come and hang out with our kids? Or, hey, would you want to come and speak to our school? I'm like, I would absolutely love to. Then I did that. I then, once I did all that, get booked at this other thing and this other thing. And then I'd go and speak to other drill instructors. Man, my flight sucks, man. I just cannot, I need you to come motivate them. So they called me the master motivator. I'd walk into a dorm, start motivating the flights, this, that, and the other, whatever. And then other people, come show my flight and come do my flight and come do my, and it's just, that became my thing. Okay. My shtick. Right. So, during that time, what was funny was, from 2011 to 2013, my wife and I had built a second business up to 6 figures, and it was an antique and collectible store. In 2 years, went 6 figures by buying storage units at auction, just like the TV show Storage Wars.
Yeah.
That's what we did in San Antonio. And we traveled all around Texas doing this. You wonder, how would you possibly have enough time as a drill instructor? That's a great question. Well, my wife ran it. We hired out a lot of people to, like, we'd go to the unit. Like I have like a lunch break, right? Like, hey, I'm gonna, like, my flight would be in like a class for like 3 hours. I go to my boss, for like an hour, I'm gonna go down the road to the store. My dorm's all set. I'll be back, whatever. He's like, all right, take your lunch, or whatever.
Mm-hmm.
So I leave for an hour, tell my teamie, like, hey buddy, our flights are in class. We're not doing anything. I'm gonna go with the wife for an hour. They're like, all right, cool. But when you're engaged one-on-one with your flight, you're there. But if they're in class, or they have like these career guidance appointments,
Mm-hmm.
or like details where like half the flights at KP, half the flights doing details around, like you're not doing anything.
Mm-hmm.
So it's like, go home, get some sleep, go take care of paperwork, go inspect your dorm. Like, you don't have a flight for like a day. Those are the days that I would go and do this stuff. But then I'd win a unit. I'd hire out another company to come pack it up and take it to the store. And then we would like unpack it like at night.
Wow.
So I leave work at like 7:30, 8 o'clock, go to the store, unpack and price things and whatever, go home at like 11 or 12, get some sleep, wake up at 4 a.m. and do it all over again. And that's just what we did. We hired out a lot of stuff, but my wife did a whole lot too. And then at one point I wasn't even working weekends, because I had an instructor job where I only worked Monday through Friday. I never worked on the weekends. So all I did on the weekends was the store. That's all, like from 7 a.m. to like 10 o'clock at night. That's all I did was the store. Well, as I'm getting booked to speak at these different events, people are finding out about the store. So the store is growing. I'm building the brand. And then they were like, hey, your tour is done. Sold the store. And then took all of my contacts that I have, rolled them into a CRM, and I just maintained relationships with the people that I met. So I've been to Texas a lot of times speaking, just because I had those relationships.
Absolutely.
And I didn't start my success core until 2017. Well, end of 2016, beginning of 2017. That's when I started the success core. And I was really doing like the resilience things for the military, getting booked to speak it because I already knew how to do it.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
So I moved to North Carolina, and in North Carolina, I'm getting booked at high school, colleges, and these other events and these other things. And I'm like, I'm going to make this full, because I really wasn't getting paid for it. It was just like I was speaking for free to get my foot in the door so that I could build the relationships for the event planners and build the relationships with colleges and schools. Like, I was building the brand and building my relationships.
Absolutely.
Now, if they want, it costs money.
Mm-hmm. So
and then just this year, I did LYB Clothing Inc., which was something that I've wanted to do for the past year or two. And I was like, I got to do this. Like, this is the moment.
So explain to everybody what LYB stands for.
Yeah, LYB stands for Live Your Brand, not Reebok's brand, not Nike's brand, not anybody else's brand, but yours. You live your brand.
So this is key for a lot of folks to listen. If you have any kind of casual interest in entrepreneurship, a lot of folks might listen to various influencers or points of authority out there that talk about the hustle and the drive and the sacrifices you make. And so just to tap into your story, your entire evolution here, totally natural. You went through your crisis, you came out the other side, you had opportunities with your job that allowed you to build and grow this expertise with regards to leadership and motivation and coaching and training. You built on that, and like you said, you were speaking for free to these various schools and other organizations. You were, as you say, building your brand. You were building your authority out there, not charging, not making a lot of money on that aspect of your business.
Right.
And then from your speaking, you kind of sort of formalized it, or, of course, in military speak, you create an SOP around it. And, you created your success core, which we'll detail that in just a second. But you created that as a building block off of your speaking. And then off of that, you created your podcast. And off of that, you've created your clothing line. So it's all building on itself. It's incremental, it's
Yes.
progressive. It's not like you snap your fingers and it just happened.
Right.
But you've been investing in this. You've been you've been applying yourself to this journey that you're on for quite some time. Like essentially you're almost your
Oh
entire
yeah.
career. So you've been building it on the side the whole time. And like you say,
Yeah.
now your side hustle is getting to a point where it's equal or surpassing your the income you're making from your military career. But it's something that you had to build and invest and grow over time. So wow. But so that's a journey that you've gone on. It's impressive. It's exciting to listen to, and not only that, but you're teaching others how to do it themselves, and that's what your
Yes.
success core is all about. So talk to us a little bit about that.
Yeah, so the Success Core is an academy for entrepreneurs, speakers, and business owners who want to get to that level. I in 5 years am building the Success Core to be synonymous with Brendan Burchard coaching, John Maxwell speakers, Zig Ziglar legacy speakers, all of the certified coaching programs. That's what I'm building it to be, is to be synonymous with them. Also, what I'm working on is being accredited to accept the post 9/11 GI Bill, so that veterans coming out can attend the Success Core and our events, or get coaching and resources and everything to learn entrepreneurship, to learn how to be a speaker, and to learn how to be a coach, or just a business owner, whether it be brick and mortar or online. And it's not like we're gonna do MLMs, period. Like, that's not a business. You're a product peddler. It's something that you create, that you launch, and that you monetize. And that's what we specialize in. We specialize in the creating, the launching, and the monetizing of an idea, so that you can become a multiple time, like a serial entrepreneur, a multiple business owner, or just crush the business that you want to create. We do it in a specific way, and we guarantee that you will become successful because you're learning from people who are actually doing it, not things that they read online or read in a book.
And again, you're the example. You're the success story. These are the things that you've done. You've mapped out your SOP, and you're sharing that with others.
Yep.
Okay, so we've got
100%.
we got the speaking, we've got the success core. Now talk to us about Life Transformation Radio. This is the podcast that you do.
Oh yeah.
And talk to us about how that got started. Obviously, a building block off of all this, but what you're doing with that today.
I listen to my intuition. When we're talking, I'm listening to your question, and then I'm really trying to internalize it. I'm not thinking about anything, but I'm really I'm watching how your mouth moves, and I'm like trying to just really like internalize what exactly is going on. I do that with everything. When someone is talking, if I'm reading comments, if I'm watching, I love watching trends. If you go to Yahoo, it'll say what's trending. I always look at what's trending. And I was mad as hell when Facebook got rid of the news and the trend. Like, I was pissed, because that's how I got all of my, I'm like, oh, well, this is happening. I can see where our behavior is going. I can see what people are going to do. So I internalize a lot of things. Life Transformation Radio was born because something in me was like, dude, you need to start the podcast, because in 2016, podcasts were becoming big. More and more people were talking about it. In 2015, 14, like, nobody was really talking about podcasts. We knew what they were, but nobody was really listening.
Mm-hmm.
In 2016, people started, behavior shifted. And if you know about the diffusion and innovation model, you know that it kind of goes up like a wave and then goes back down. So like your early adopters are the early 16%, right? You have your early majority, which is about 34%. Once it tips the scale into that early majority, you're like, okay, it's going to take off. Once it reaches past the 16% of the people that are listening, because right now it's up to 29%. So once we reach 34, you're going to see, I promise you, once the statistics say 34% of people listen to podcasts, it's going to skyrocket. It's going to jump to like 50, 60, boom, everybody listen to podcasts. Like, I'm telling you, once it tips the scales to 34%, boom, everybody's doing it. So I learned, I'm like, okay, it's past 16%. It's like 7.
It's the time to dive in. Absolutely. Oh, Sean, it looks like we lost you. paused out on the connection here. I will we'll wait a sec to see if. Okay, we got you back. So Sean, we just lost you there for a sec. We timed out, I guess, on the internet connection. But you were just saying about the about podcasting hitting that critical number and starting to kind of like ramp up.
So yep. The upward trajectory and the diffusion innovation model, once you go up the hill, is the tipping point's like 16%. You have your early adopters. Those are the I have to be first, 16%. And then 34% are your early majority. And once you tip the scale into the 34%, I promise you, once everybody listens to podcasts, 34% of people listen to podcasts, I promise you the next couple of months and a year, it'll get up to 80 super fast. Super fast. It'll be the only way that we consume content. Not the only, but it'll be the big way that we consume content. So I knew I had to get in at that 16% mark. So I said, what do I want to, what's the show going to be about? And as I'm, doing my mindfulness, my meditations, and I'm listening to myself, and I'm listening to my own thoughts and values, I said transformation, because I went through a transformation. What if I chronicled people's transformations? What if I only talked about the transformations that nobody wants to talk about? We don't talk about these things at parties, right? So I said transformation of life, and I was just playing with the words. Absolutely. And then I was like, life transformation radio, because I do things differently. I want to be so different than everybody else. I don't want a podcast. I want a radio show because I think bigger. So now I've got my show established for the last 2 years. My show has been established. I've spoken at PodFest, New Media Summit, Outliers Podcast Festival. I'm hoping to go to Podcast Movement. We'll see how that goes. But I'm at all these events. Now is the time that I syndicate the show. And that's why I didn't name it podcast. That's why I named it radio, because I want to be on the radio. I want to be an FM or AM radio. That was my whole purpose, was to reach a vast audience. I did it online first, and now I can syndicate it to different radio stations, because still people listen to music and they listen to radio.
Wow. I'm conscious of time, because you have so much to tell. We could be on here for hours sharing all the stuff you got. So again, this whole thing, you've been drip investing into, like in this case, the podcast, and it took you a while. It took 2 years, and now you're hitting that ramp up, that acceleration, that scaling of the podcast, just like every other, the speaking, and then the Success Core, and now again the radio show. Life Transformation Radio. Lastly, you just started this clothing line, Live Your Brand. Give us a quick rundown on what that's about and how people can access it.
Yeah, so LYB Clothing Inc., LYB stands for Live Your Brand. And the whole purpose of Live Your Brand is to live your truth, show your authenticity, and wear your transparency. I want you to wear your transparency. So we have affirmations and we have the truth on a shirt. So for the truth serum point of the clothing line, it says things like the truth always wins. And each shirt has a story behind it. So the story behind the truth always wins is, if you've ever been cheated on, if you've ever been stabbed in the back by somebody, if you've ever caught somebody in a lie and yet they still continue to lie, the truth's going to come out. The truth always wins. The truth comes out. So I have a full plan where people find out that somebody's cheating on them and they buy them this shirt to like throw it in their, like, the truth always wins. Like, we're going to find out. Right. Affirmations on a shirt are like, I don't make excuses. I make results, right? It's like your affirmation. Like, I don't make excuses. I make results. Or I am intentionally and wonderfully made. The Bible scripture says I am fearfully and wonderfully made, but I don't like the word fear in anything. So I love intentionality. So I come up with a shirt that says I am intentionally and wonderfully made. So I just changed the word. And then there's a couple other ones, like goals are just dreams with a deadline. That is a great affirmation for somebody. Setting goals are just dreams with a deadline. And so I have these shirts that people can wear around, like reframe your mind, reframe your life. It's just a reminder of why you're doing what you're doing. And so if you email support at LYB Clothing Inc. And you tell me, hey, I have an idea for a shirt. Could you put this on a shirt? Could you put this on a shirt? We'll definitely do that. We'll create the shirt and we'll put it in the store. And then you can be like, that's my create. And we'll call it your name creation, whatever. And so I want this to be a community of people who are delivering affirmations and delivering empowerment. And it's a community for everybody. And that's why I created it, because I'm so sick and tired of living in the reality of what other people think about us, how we should do that. Well, you should do this and you should do this. I don't care what you think. I want to do what I want to do. And if you ask any 18 or 19-year-old what it felt like living in their parents' house, they felt stifled and they didn't have room to grow. And right. So that's what adults feel like too when they're bullied. Is you have a 45-year-old man trying to make it online and you got 20-year-old kids bullying him. And we see it all the time on video games, right? There's some little kid like owned, got it. Like, I hate this little kid, right? Everybody goes through these moments.
Yeah.
I want you to live in the reality of what you think about you. And I want you to value you more than anybody else values you. It's all about self-love. And that's what we're bringing to LYB Clothing Inc. is self-love.
So, wow. So, okay. The speaking, the success core, the transformation radio, the LYB Clothing Inc. All this, again, building something you've invested in. And like I say, it's getting to the point where it's scaling. And like you say, at this point, your side hustle, these other businesses that you're doing are starting to surpass what you're doing in uniform as far as revenue generation.
Yeah. So my military pay right now as an E6 is about 39 net, about 39. Cause I live on base.
Mm-hmm.
So they take all of the BAH already out, all that stuff. Right? So I live on base. So my take home pay every month would be about $3,900. Like that's like the military, right? Last month, minus speaking, just coaching and the programs, products and services that I offer, was a net of 6,300. So I'm working on the 10K. Like I haven't hit the 10K month, just one or just the just one or just the other. I've hit like 9 because I got a $5,000 gig here for speaking and a $4,000 gig here, like 4,500. Like I was so close, but combined speaking and training, like cool 10K hitting it. But I want to get one or the other up there too.
And it's all progressive. Like it's not like it happened overnight. Sure. Like you said, you did it for free for the longest time. You've built this over time, and it's no different than your military career. You start in, you're a raw recruit, and you get trained, and you go through basic and your trade training, and then you serve on your first in the Navy ship or base, or and you progress, and you become more and more of an expert at what you're doing, and of course your rank and your pay goes up accordingly, and the same thing with your business. So when you tell your story with all the things that you're doing, I think a lot of people may struggle with how do you manage it all? There's so much going on, and they probably think of that and they feel overwhelmed and they think, oh, I could never do that myself. So I would imagine there's got to be somewhere in your success core program that you're able to tap in or provide a lesson learned for folks on how they can at least take the first step on this path, set themselves up for success so they don't get overwhelmed, but they're able to take steps forward and make progress. What would be your one piece or one recommendation to folks when they're thinking about starting the same journey you're on?
There are 2 rules that you must follow. 2. Rule is schedule everything. Your day from the time you wake up to the time you go to bed must be scheduled. There's no white space on a calendar. I have a show right after this, and then I have to report for duty, and then I have like my job, like that's my calendar. Like it says duty. like, I'm time in between because, like you're busy, like you're at work, like you're busy, right? So I might get time on a break to like check some social media and like check some emails, but I'm working, right? So what am I doing with the time? Everything is scheduled from the time I wake up at 6 or 6:30, get the kids up for school and do all that. I'm doing social media, checking emails, whatever. Schedule everything. Every single thing is scheduled, even on the weekends. Sunday is my day to spend time with the family because I do no work. So 6 days a week. And even then, I like right now, my schedule, I get home maybe like 11:30, almost midnight or whatever. So it's about an 8.5 hour day, whatever. Just because I'm in a position, as my like I run the shop. So that's just my shift schedule. So as the NCOIC, I have the luxury of that type of a schedule. As I go home, what am I doing at 11:30 or midnight or 1 or 2? Like, I didn't go to bed till like almost 3 because I was checking emails and sending out my marketing campaigns. Like, I was working like after work and before work, right? Number 2, rule number 2 is most important, and people fail all the time at this. Rule number 2, only spend time on DPAs, which are dollar producing activities. Everybody wants to get into these little like Twitter wars. And is that producing you money? No, then you don't do it.
Yeah.
Right? If you're just kind of hanging, if you're watching cat videos on YouTube, that is not a dollar producing activity. Okay. You need to schedule in your calendar my own time. So if you schedule 2 hours a day, 1 in the morning and 1 in the afternoon, and it's a screw off time. Okay. Like you want to play video games and you want to do this, like schedule it. Schedule your screw off time. Like I'm screwing off for this hour. I'm not doing any work. I'm just screwing off.
Cat video.
But guess what? Right? But guess what? When your phone goes off, okay, when it says on your calendar, on your alert, it says do this, you must stop and you must have the discipline to go and do those things. And that's the number one thing that hold people back is discipline. It's not knowledge. It's not anything else. It is discipline. They're just not disciplined enough to follow a regiment. You did in basic training. You did in the military. You get out to civilian world. You're like, I'm free. And then 3 months later, you're like, I have no idea what to do because you were told what to do your whole career. Do the same thing. Capitalize on your strengths. Dollar producing activities. If it is not your strength, then outsource it. If it is not your strength, figure out who else can do it, or you either learn it or outsource it. So a lot of things I've learned, I can just do. I don't have to outsource it. If you hate doing something, then don't do it. Outsource it and just pay. It'll be done faster and it'll free you up to do your dollar producing activities. You must do these 2 things. Schedule everything and do DPAs, dollar producing activities.
Well, Sean, I think today's episode has been chock full, super dense, unbelievably packed full of amazing value and stories and lessons learned. Thank you very much for those two rules to follow for your success going forward. But I think as an overarching theme here, you've started this journey for yourself. You're planning well before you're ever getting close to leaving the military. And for you, leaving the military is, years away. But you set yourself up for success so that when that time comes and you put your uniform aside for the last time, you have a business, you have a stream of income, you have a path to success following your days in uniform. And that, my friend, is a huge example of success. You are a role model for everyone in uniform today. Thank you so much for that.
I appreciate you, man. I really, really do. My advice to everybody is you better have a plan because I got 2 years before retirement. You better have a plan 2 years. Like if you haven't started 2 years before your retirement, because we're already we're already like ways through 2019 already.
Yeah.
Like it's crazy, right? I mean, we're what, halfway? Like, holy smokes. It's going to go by fast. You need to plan ahead. And if you don't know what you're doing outside of retirement, 2 years prior to your retirement is the time. Like it's deadline time. Like you need to figure this out because if you want to be an entrepreneur, there is no overnight success. Not even Uber was an overnight success. They operated in San Francisco about 2-3 years before they actually became a success. It takes 2 to 3 years of operating all the time to get successful. 2 to 3 years. So you have to start now.
You heard it here, folks. You start planning now if you haven't started already, because you need to be ready for your success post-release. And that's not necessarily that far away. Sean, thank you so much for joining us today on the show.
Thank you for having me, man. And I can't wait to have you on my show.
Well, I'm looking forward to that. All right, everybody. That's phenomenal. Sean has so many lessons learned there, and there's all sorts of different ways that you can be able to reach out and contact him. They are all going to be in the show notes down below. You'll be able to go see his various websites and be able to reach out and contact him. And if you have an idea for a shirt, then you can send that to him as well. Thank you so much for joining today. If you found any value in today's show, then please feel free to share this either on LinkedIn, on YouTube, or in your social media feed. And of course, don't be shy. Give us a thumbs up. And if you are looking for more episodes like this, hit the subscribe button and be alerted as more episodes are released. Thank you so much for joining us today. I'm signing off for now. See you later.